David Zaritsky for the Bond Experience. Welcome back. Not too long ago, we were in London for a whole series of events. We were invited by Secret Cinema. A bunch of us in the Bond community went and experienced it. It's a lot of fun. There's a great review up. You should check it out. But you know something? It occurred to us that, my gosh, it's so rare that we all get together in one place. Some of us were even meeting each other for the first time. So how do we kind of elongate the event? How do we make it a multi-day experience? And one of the things I started to think about is, my gosh, we're going to be in London. It's the epicenter of the James Bond brands that we love, follow, review, connect with, and experience every single day. So what if we decided to take all these Bond community members that we were getting together with on one of our Bond brand tours? You've seen the ones from New York, but this is London. And what's great about it is in London, some of them are very close together. So maybe we could do more than 3. Maybe we could do a bit of a marathon. Well, immediately when I started to think of this idea, I reached out. Everybody was game. They were in. They wanted to do it. And one of the things I did was reach out to AJ Chaudhary. Now, AJ is an author. He's a 007 aficionado. He's a writer. He's so many different things. But one of the things he really is that a lot of you don't know is he is someone who understands and knows how to get around London. So I decided to partner up with him and say, look, I don't know London. I know New York City. But maybe what you and I can do is we could talk about the brands that we want to visit, the type of experience we want to create for everyone going, and then you help us kind of weave through this. And that's exactly what we did. So we wanted to show you a little bit of a pictorial and talk about the day because it was a lot of fun. And it's right up your alley, probably. So one of the first things we did was I reached out to the brands. Not all the Bond brands that are in London, but many of the Bond brands that have already embraced us and supported the Bond community. And we wanted to give something back to them and maybe quid pro quo. And very simple, I said, listen, you're going to have 15 to 16 influencers from the Bond community from all around the world. What do you want them to know about your brand, your connection to Bond, your history, your future, and what kind of experience do you want to create in store? And that's it. I didn't say do this, do that, etc. So it was really up to the creativity of the Bond brands. The first one we visited was Sophie Harley. Now there's already a review up, not a review, it's a tour. I mean, we went around. Please go see that video. It's amazing. But here are some quick pictures that I'll talk through. First of all, Sophie was so welcoming. This is not just her shop. It is her workshop and where her employees are. It's a very cool area. It's very creative. I mean, the whole building is just very creative. When we went in there, Sophie had some bubbly. It was our first stop, so it was fantastic. Had a little bit to drink. She gave us a full explanation of her brand, of her connection to Bond. It was amazing. We got some great pictures together, as you can see. Some of them on the couch. It's so colorful in there. It seems like everything exploded. And yes, we did some shopping. The guys did some shopping because you can get some guy stuff in there. The women did some shopping because you can get a lot of women's stuff in there. My wife picked up some beautiful earrings, actually, and they all have that same connection to Sophie's idea of, you know, something that feels old and vintage and old worldly, almost medieval, that's really modernized. And it's that combination that she stays very true to. So it was so amazing visiting with her. And again, we have an entire vlog around that visit. Go check it out. Well, then we decided to take a short walk to our friends at Oliver Brown. Now, you've seen the videos around the launch of Oliver Brown. I'm wearing the Camp Thunderball shirt right now. Super comfortable. It's like 90 degrees out there. Perfect. But we went to their flagship store. And what was great about that is we were able to connect with Tom Hart in the marketing department and walk around, and here is that discussion. Okay, David Zaritsky for the Bond Experience. We are coming to you live. You may be having lunch, you may be having dinner. I don't know where you are, and I don't know time. But we are here at the Oliver Brown store. We've visited many, but we are in London where it all started. And we're going to pull somebody in rather abruptly and organically. This is Tom Hart. Tom, tell everybody what you do for Oliver Brown.
So I'm currently the marketing manager of Oliver Brown. We're here today at Westwall Grove, which is the flagship of all of our brands in London. This is essentially where it all began. So 2007, all of our brands started, so now 12, almost 13 years old.
Oh my gosh.
So Adam, the founder, founded this, started this idea when he was on holiday in Rochester. And basically was with a group of friends, and all the guys were turned away from a restaurant because they had board shorts on and they said formal enough. So he basically came up with the idea to create a formal tailored pair of swim shorts, so a short that you can swim in, and that's essentially where OB was conceived, and then obviously over the years it's evolved into basically a full resort wear collection. So I guess if you
let's walk through
spin around and look around.
Well, let's come on over here, because I think this is an interesting place to start, because all of you are going to recognize this, whether you know the brand or not. These are the setter shorts from Skyfall, and these are the ones, and thank goodness they reissued them. You saw them, everybody wanted them, identified them, and then all of our brand, which had been on the map obviously previously, but for the Bond fan it really started to connect. And one of the things we wanted to talk about is I've always highlighted all of our brand as individuals, group, a brand that connects with the influencers in a very reciprocal way. It's a good relationship. Where did that begin? Why influencers?
I guess we just have a really great community. I think it was probably born out of OVs around the world. So we have a hashtag, OVs around the world, which kind of started off really organically, but now it's something that our customers around the world have just really adopted.
They're passionate about it.
And people love to show, and we love to see where people wear all of our brand shorts. So I think we probably have about 9,000 impressions of customers genuinely just posting on their holidays and their trips, wherever they may be. And we get messages all the time of people wanting us to then reshare their content. And we get really great content, sort of campaign standard content just from customers and these really amazing
And
places.
it's authentic, because one of the things is you have sponsored, but everybody out there knows that the influencer campaigns, the content is the most trusted, because it isn't the sponsored aspect. It's very true.
And we're very lucky to have such loyal fans, I guess, who give us all of this amazing content. We get really great feedback. We just, I would call them fans. They're really great.
I think that we're part of the brand. As a matter of fact, this gentleman's wearing towel and polo. This gentleman's wearing towel and polo. It's a perfect day for towel and polo.
It's very hot here.
Right? But I'm kind of representing, because I'm wearing the Diamonds Are Forever. Sean Connery, right? Have to represent. By the way, my entire luggage, we had a box that went missing because of Secret Cinema. My Skyfall tuxedo from Tom Ford went missing. So guess what I wore last night? The All of Our Brown dress shirt, the linen one.
Very nice.
Let's take a look around a little bit then. So what do we have here? I know we have signage and stuff, but we have pretty much pieces of the line right here, right?
So this was, I guess, the highest representation of the Bond collection. So we've had full back ball. We've been, I guess, very lucky in a sense that a lot of the pieces sold out pretty much straight away. Sort of the onesie, which I think is probably the most popular.
Oh my gosh.
And,
what was that, 48 hours?
48 hours, we sold out on, it's actually pre-sale. We did a preview. We have reordered, and I think we currently have a waiting list of about 400 people.
Oh my gosh. Will you get them in?
So there will be another drop mid-July. We don't know the exact date yet, but keep your eyes peeled. We'll be pushing it out on social and through email, so we will be letting people know. But mid-July you will be able to get your hands on the onesie.
Not just things like this. So I have a question for you. You did not expect this, so I apologize. So this is your Dr. No towel and polo. So you had to make a choice. I mean, you're working with Eon, you're working with the details, and we all know what the Dr. No polo looks like. At what point do you say, you know something, we're terry cloth. We're not going to do a peak or anything like that. We're going to do something that's more an homage, but all of our brown. How does that happen?
Well, I think that, so we were really lucky to, with Eon, just been a really great partner the whole way through. So the relationship was born when Daniel Craig wore the setter short in Skyfall, and then sort of the start of this, the designers and Adam, who's the founder, were able to get access to the archives. So there's a really great location in North London where basically all of the Bond costumes, props, everything lives, and they were able to go into the archives and select key pieces and get their hands on it.
Did you get to go into the archives?
I personally didn't. My colleague Sophia over here did.
Why do you get all the good gigs?
I mean, that's
Yeah, exactly. That's part of her contract. We need to sign that off.
But yes, I guess took more than we actually wanted to design, and then just, I mean, it's not, they're kind of carbon copies, but it was just like an OB slant on everything. So we boiled it down to 15 pieces, and basically, yeah, this is the collection that was born. So we did phase 1 last July, which was we took 4 iconic film posters and placed them onto our shorts. So photographics just generally, all of our brand are a really key part of the business. So seasonally, it's a big part of every collection, photographics. We also have the functionality snapshots, where you can have the smoke and create their own shorts. So you can send us a picture, you can do your own drawing, then you'll send it through to us. Our concierge team will work with our designers, and we'll place that image or that drawing onto a short. So yeah, I think it's something that we're really known for. The phase 1 was like equally as successful, sold through. It's amazing. I think within 4 weeks, and then there was in phase 2, which we launched this year.
Look at this background.
A new edition. Moonraker.
This is so cool. Yeah, I have these. I love them. They really capture Moonraker fans out there?
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, Calvin Dyson. Calvin, come up here for a second.
Yeah, this is your
sorry.
Calvin.
All right. So, why Moonraker? Why is Moonraker such a passion?
For me, it was the first Bond film that I ever saw, so it was the one that kind of started it all for me, anyway. Right. And besides that, I just think it's a really fun rom. You know, double taking pictures. Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah.
That's right. It's got going on it.
And it was the only one filmed in Brazil, so.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
Right,
it's
true.
Spoken from the gentleman from Brazil.
Yeah. So I gotta mention that.
Calvin, in a lot of his social media, though, will defend, and I will say defend. We have Octopussy defenders, we have Moonraker defenders, but Roger Moore sometimes doesn't get that love. But,
No, yeah. So it's nice to see him immortalized. On this.
Appropriately placed to receive love.
Exactly. And an odd kind of, let's say anomaly for the franchise, knowing that they were, let's say, trying to capture, let's say, that Star Wars moment, that space moment. Because we all know that at the end of Spy, James Bond will return in For Your Eyes Only.
Right, and then they switch
Stopgap,
yeah.
In comes Moonraker.
Yeah, to really kind of
I had a quick question, just about the material. So what I've noticed too, and it's a great thing, the shorts versus the shirts in that sort of wonderful hang of linen. The shorts being the cotton linen blend. Was that like something that you actually thought about, especially let's say hot summer weather where it has the hang and the look of linen, but the care of cotton?
Yeah, and I think linen is just ultimately not just through Bond in every part of our collection. It's such a really great fabric that you'll see in every collection that we do, whether it be autumn, winter, right through to high summer. So it was obviously going to feature and be very present in the Bond collection.
I have a question, and it's put on the spot.
So many questions
We
today.
can cut it. you expected this? No. So when this is a line, and when this sells out, which I dare say it's very close, and many pieces have.
In this store, yes.
And, right. So are there thoughts about the future? What else is coming?
Yeah, I guess Bond. I guess this project has been amazing for us. Right. And Bond, from the conception of OB, Bond was very much on Adam's original mood boards, a big inspiration. So I don't think this is something that we're gonna do and then it'll be the end. I think we'd love to continue the relationship with Eon. So who knows? We'll see what happens.
I love it.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, Tom, thank you for your time.
No worries.
We're
Thank
gonna
you all for coming.
Meander and gather and just have a good time.
Yeah.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yourselves, dig in.
All right. And you can see by some of the pictures right here that everybody had a great time. It was a laugh. Again, more bubbly, more experiences. They were so kind at Oliver Brown, they actually wound up giving everybody each a choice of their signature themed shirts. These white shirts that say Out of Office or OB Lifeguard, or mine, the one that I chose was Sunday. And a lot of the Bond community people wore them the day or the day after. Super comfortable, and that was so generous of them, not just for the gifts and not just for the bubbly, but for their time. And that environment that they've created in there in London is amazing. You've got to go visit if you are local to that. Okay, So then we wound up getting on the tube. We had a little bit of a distance to go, but our next stop was Burlington Arcade, where we saw our friends from NPeel. NPeel Cashmere, great history, great connection in the Bond world because they've been in movies. They've been in Skyfall and Spectre, and again, I've got tons of videos if you want to go see that. But this was really nice. We went in there to Burlington Arcade is beautiful. It's like a tunnel of stores, and it's they just do it right. It feels very luxurious when you walk into the Burlington Arcade. And then NPeel itself feels very luxurious. You got that beautiful cashmere hand. And we went up to the second floor where they had arranged bubbly. In fact, it was so funny. I opened up the champagne, and of course it went everywhere on the floor. So I was standing in it when we did our discussion, and that was nice because sort of like what we did at All of Our Brown, I co-discussed with the people there. So I did a co-discussion with them on the brand itself, a little bit about the future of NPeel, the connection with Bond, and I think everybody had a great time. It was a small, intimate area. You could see by the pictures, we did get a really nice picture opportunity, and right next to us were the pieces that you could purchase that were from the films. So we had that close connection, and everybody got to feel that. And again, their generosity, crazy. They gave us all packages, totally unexpected, really appreciated. These beautiful cashmere beanies, which some people like Calvin Dyson and other people have posted and said that they can't take them off, even though it's the summertime. They're ridiculously soft, but super generous. Then we took a walk to Turnbull Asser, where we met with James Cook. And it was so funny. When we saw James, we walked on the Turnbull Asser, and Turnbull Asser, that location is so beautiful. It's an older location, but of course it's to the nines. I mean, it's just so fancy schmancy, but it doesn't feel that way. You feel very welcome, like it's a lounge, a men's lounge, if you will. And so we walk in there, and James Cook looks at me and he goes, "I measured you for a shirt, a tuxedo shirt, Casino Royale, in 2007. And he was absolutely right. He was the one that measured me when I was a child. Maybe there's a picture we can throw up. Child, I wasn't a child, but and sure enough, he was the one that measured me. He took us around, gave us an explanation about the connection to Bond. What was super, super cool was he not only took us around and we took some snapshots and saw patterns, etc., but he actually had us stand where Connery was measured for the shirt and told us some wonderful, amazing stories about that. You can hear some of them right here.
It's a long time since I measured you.
It has been a long time. So can you introduce yourself first, actually?
Okay, my name's James Cook. I'm the store manager of Turnbull Asser at Jermyn Street, but I've worked for the company for 25 years. So when I met David, I worked in the New York store. I worked here originally, went to Bespoke next door, and I've ran the Davis Street store in Berkeley Square.
And you have an amazing memory, but do you remember what you measured me for?
Yes, it was a Casino Royale shirt, wasn't it?
You are unbelievable. And I've been put in my place.
Wasn't there a video as well or something?
Not back then.
No.
Alas, I was not technically astute.
Yeah. I watch you on Instagram.
Oh, okay, great.
You won't know I'm watching though, so I don't have.
I apologize for that then.
Don't worry. But that was a long time ago. So Turnbull Asser, I'll quickly tell you about Turnbull's. It's been around since 1885, and this area, St James's, is famous because the court of St James. Obviously the aristocracy follow the king, so all the clothing companies would come to this area. So you have Savile Row for the suits, the shirts Jermyn Street, and on St James's you had glovers, you had the chemists, you had hat makers, because obviously when you're at that level you have to get to the customer, where today everyone goes shopping. So that's why this area is quite famous for shirts. And I'm sure if you're a Bond fan, you know that really Ian Fleming never wrote where James Bond got his clothing from, but he did say Jermyn Street. So Terence Young, the first director, who was actually a customer, he actually introduced Sean Connery to have shirts made. So I can actually show you the actual spot where Sean Connery was measured.
Fantastic.
But it was all to be honest with you, it was staged because the pattern
course.
cutters who were measuring him, they didn't want to be on camera. But they had a very young man called Michael Fish who became very famous himself.
Oh, yeah.
And he was the one measuring because he was young. And
Weatherman, Michael.
no.
I was like, hang on.
he was man about town. It was in the 60s where like the working class and upper classes were mixing. And suddenly he would be working in the embassy club in the evening and he was a floor walker here, and he just brought in the great and the good. And you know, it was that period, and they called it swinging 60s. It was talk about Carnaby Street, but really it was the places like this that some of the things that were being made were.
He's only just passed on, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think he was in a coma for a long time, sadly. Yeah. There was an exhibition at the Jewish Museum, and they had some of his ties. But he put Mick Jagger in a dress on the concert in Hyde Park and things like that. So when you see these flamboyant things, that's all Michael Fish.
Oh, very cool.
So obviously Terence Young brought Sean Connery here, and that's why we kind of got involved. And I don't think at the time they most probably didn't realise it was going to be that successful.
Right.
But obviously, as you can see now, there's
Unbelievable.
still going on. Yeah, it's unbelievable. So Winston Churchill was a customer, and that's his siren suit. He's only left that cabinet twice. Once for a tour of America. His granddaughter took it on a tour, and also we lent it to the Science Museum because he obviously was into technology, and so we lent it to them to use as a prop.
And forgive me as a Canadian, siren suit?
Well, obviously in the Second World War, he was in the
Understood.
the bunker. So instead of keep getting changed, he would wear this like today you'd call it a onesie.
Bathrobe?
Yeah,
A onesie,
yeah.
yeah.
So you zip up, get it easy. He had some of them in military patterns.
Like a jumpsuit.
Yeah, that's it. Like a jumpsuit.
Those
and
are in
then,
Blenheim Palace. Sorry to interrupt.
that's it. Yeah. So
Thank you.
Also, there's some in Chartwell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Canada wasn't involved in World War II. I'm sorry, it wasn't a country then. Apologies.
We
It's a country now?
one of them went for £250,000 in auction.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so that is in lock and key. So it's quite
Yes,
treasured.
with alarms.
And to be honest with you, today you couldn't really find a tailor necessarily to be able to make it today because to sit down.
Yeah.
It's made like into.
It's more complicated.
Yeah. It's a lot of hard work. Obviously, this is the. I'll show you where Sean Connery got measured.
Sure.
Yeah. So, sorry, man. So, if you ever see the pictures, and I'll try and find a picture. He's standing here by the doorway. Obviously, there were shirts here at that time. I don't know if it's in the history book.
So he was mentioned here?
Yeah. Well, he's Mr.
Yeah.
You've been there.
He's been an extra, yeah.
It's it's tiring by the end of the day. But I think they only invited me because they didn't have to pay me.
I can stay if you want.
So everyone else gets paid to be an extra if they.
Did they feed you at least?
They did. That's lovely.
Ice cubes.
They gave me this very attractive young lady to walk around with.
Oh,
and she wanted to be an actress, so she was quite impressed because all the directors and all the producers would come up and shake my hand. So she was very.
Oh, that's funny. Because of your accoutrements.
Actually, as well in 74. Charlie Chaplin was a customer. So,
Oh, fantastic.
we got more. These are the shirt patterns of Winston Churchill and Lord Olivia. You've got Charlie Chaplin, President Reagan. Sorry, Scott. So George here is our pattern cutter.
Oh. Does he do all the patterns for all these stores?
Yeah.
So I just had a shirt measured about 3 weeks ago. Would he be doing bespoke
Wait, did you measure here or?
in New York City?
Yeah, that would be done by Eddie in New York.
Okay.
So he'll do it there, and then. But sometimes we do get things sent here from New York.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is all what George does. He will look at the measurements, draw up a shirt pattern.
Right.
But in the past, they used to do half patterns. So you'll see, this is a full body pattern,
Right.
but these are half. So it's very changed how we make shirts today.
And James, I think some people were walking at the time, but Daniel Craig, for example, would be measured here.
Yes,
he was
so
measured here.
Daniel Craig was measured here, so he would stand here,
Yep.
like any other of our customers. When you stand here, you know that there's been people maybe greater or
Sure.
you know, so it's hallowed turf here really.
Yeah.
People who've stood here, I could name quite a few, but all types of characters, famous. But yeah, and he'd be here, and then I think he came on his own actually, just to be measured. So Mr. Quinn or George would have measured him and
Right.
make up a pattern, and then everyone gets a file. You know, so you get
Yep.
a shirt bag with all your measurements, so you'll have one of these, and then all these basically get put onto the computer, but the actual pattern gets sent physically because they need to
Right.
make
So
the
that
shirt.
aspect of creating an actual pattern, that really hasn't changed in many years.
No, it hasn't changed at all. The only thing that's changed is the way we make shirts today. And you know, as we said, it was people weren't so. You know, a shirt was an undergarment.
Yeah.
It wasn't on show. So
That's
if you
right.
look at Sean Connery's shirt in Dr. No, it's actually quite loose.
Yeah.
But today, people
Want it
they
fitted.
want everything fitted, and they
Right.
it's on show. No one necessarily wears jackets. So that's what's changed, is the way we do things. But actually, I notice people are going away from such fitted shirts now. You notice less.
It's coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same with pants. You know, the skinny pants versus, and pleats are coming.
That's
back.
it. Yeah, people want to be more relaxed, or
Yeah. It's like one pleat at a time. So you get
That's
the
it.
one pleated versus the two pleated.
and
Yeah.
then it go back again.
Yeah. Then we'll get hammer time pants. You know. Then we'll get
Well,
that.
you do see that in yoga.
Ah, yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's really what we do, really. But we have looked after Turnbull's. When you talk about the spy game, the Cambridge spies were customers in the front store.
Ah.
Yeah, so
Oh,
Anthony
wow.
Blunt and people like that. So
Right.
we do have a lot of people in the gentlemen's clubs who come in. We never know what they do for a living,
Right.
so we don't know. You know, if there is a. Some people believe Ian
Yeah.
Fleming may have been a customer. We don't really have a record
Right.
of it.
Well, you talked about Connery, you talked about
Yeah.
Craig. Brosnan, was he measured here as well?
Pierce Brosnan, that's a very interesting story. Mr. Cuss, who was the Royal Warrant holder before Mr. Quinn, he flew to Ireland to measure him. And I don't think Pierce Brosnan realised how long it took to measure. And
Right.
Pierce Brosnan said, "Oh, is that it?" He said, "Yeah, well, it's okay, I'll take you to the pub." So they went to the pub and had a
Oh
good
my
pint of the
gosh.
black stuff, I believe.
Oh, that's
that was in
fantastic.
Ireland. Yeah, so that's quite amazing.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And there's also a story that I believe Turnbull and Asser had to go visit Daniel Craig on set because his muscles were getting too big.
Yeah, no, that's true. You know your history. Yeah, Simon, who was, I think I don't know if he was in our New York store. Yeah, he was in our New York store. Unfortunately, you measure somebody, and then the film studios obviously bulked Daniel Craig up for that
Yeah.
beach scene, you know, that's famous, and suddenly the shirts don't fit, so they had to fly someone to Bahamas from New York to go and measure
Yeah.
Daniel to make sure his shirts fitted him correctly.
Yeah. They said his shoulder and his bicep were like small bowling balls.
Yeah.
He had gotten so big for the beach scene.
Yeah,
It was amazing.
terrible.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Terrible for the shirt, you know. Yeah. So that's and that happens a lot with our customers.
Yeah.
They change shape all the time. So we do something called check measures. So you'll find customers we've been serving for years. Their files get very large because they keep changing their body shape. And some people have different shirt patterns: casual, formal, for shooting, sport,
Wow.
and things like that. Yeah. So.
Are there people you've got their like famous names? You've got theirs, and any under lock and key, or any actually come under official secrets?
No, the only one is His Royal Highness, and that is looked after by Mr. Quinn. That nothing of that would go on record because obviously it's kind of sensitive.
No, fair.
But yeah, obviously we all have to sign the not Secret Service, but we have to sign.
Non-disclosures and things.
All I can tell you is you can sometimes work out world politics downstairs by who's buying shirts for who.
Ah, there you go.
Brexit tie yet? Have you done? Too soon?
We did.
But, of course, everybody had to take a moment to get themselves pictured there. And then we went over to the bespoke area, which is next door, and we heard all about the process to do that, which was fascinating. And just the feeling of Turnbull and Asser, connection to so many different Bonds and so many different movies. And many of the Bond community have never been in there, in a lot of these stores. So it was really auspicious. Then we took a walk to Sunspell, and the Sunspell store was fantastic. They greeted us. We went downstairs, and they had their signature drink, gin and tonic. And this gin that they used was really unique. It's made on this island, and it was so delicious. I'm not a big gin and tonic fan, but they put grapefruit in it, slices of grapefruit, and it was delicious. I may have had more than one, but the pictures that we got from it speak 1,000 words. A lot of fun, and again, it was connecting with the Bond, connecting with the history, hearing about the shirt. Here's the store manager right now.
Hi, my name's Louis Vincent. I'm the store manager here at Jermyn Street, and let me take you around the Riviera Polo shirt.
Great.
So, this has become one of our best sellers. It's made from a warp knit cotton. It was developed in the 1950s originally by the grandson of the founder of Sunspell, in fact. It was used in Casino Royale as well.
Oh, that's what we heard.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's become one of our best sellers. It's changed since its original design. So for Daniel Craig, it was tailored to his specifications. The sleeves were shortened slightly, and it's more form-fitting as well.
Yeah.
So around the chest area, and it's more of a tapered fit as well. It's the most tailored polo shirt that we make out of it. Yes.
I heard when they received those on set, there was still an extra alteration where Lindy Hemming actually wanted it shortened as well.
Yes, yeah.
So it would appear, give him a little bit more height and everything,
yeah,
which is fascinating.
Yeah, yeah.
I try to do that as well. Because I'm small. Yeah. So is it easy to say that is the #1 seller of Sunspell, or?
I wouldn't say. It's varied, really.
Right.
Depends on store to store. Online as well is a little bit different. Here at Jermyn Street, it's one of our best sellers, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. We've got more of a traditional customer here as well.
What do they ask for when they come in? Do they say?
Underwear is probably our biggest seller here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if they ask for this shirt, do they go, I want the Bond shirt? Like, oh, that's great.
Now, forgive me, when you say underwear, do you mean under something, or do you mean briefs?
Briefs a lot of the time, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and underwear t-shirts as well.
Okay, so underwear here in the UK means something under something else, because to me underwear is nothing but...
But the white boxer short was something that was very Sunspell.
Yeah. And the Levi's advert as well.
Was the one that was used.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's right. They used
yes.
Sunspell shorts.
Yeah,
That's
right.
Because it was an underwear company,
That's
first and
right.
foremost. And the Levi's ad, I think, kicked it off.
That's it, yeah.
That's what started it all.
We were the first to introduce the boxer short into the UK market.
Yeah.
So originally from the States, I believe, and the US Navy kind of used it there
That's
as
right.
well. But,
Left them behind as well, apparently.
Really, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
But yeah, if you guys have got any questions, we'd love to, and hear about your feedback as well, from our garments.
Yeah.
We're interested in taking on board.
Yeah, so it was great. It was good going back and forth, and I think everybody, whether they were into the Bond brands or not, learned something from each of these stores, and Sunspell was no different. They really hearkened from underwear and how they were made famous with Levi's, and what did they do to really become part of that brand that we know now with Bond. And there's a great interview with Nick Brook, if you haven't seen it already, that you should check out. I think you'll like it. He's the CEO, and he really speaks with so much passion and enthusiasm about the brand. Well, then we walked to Flores Perfumer, Cologne, and it was great. You could see by the pictures. We walked around. We got some tidbits. Here are some sound bites.
We've never left here, and the business has been handed down through the generations. Initially father to son, and then in the 1860s, Mary Flores, who was the 5th generation, took over the business from her brother, who was took it on quite young. His father died quite young. He took it on when he was 17, and he wasn't really doing it very well. And she took it on with her husband, which is his name was Boddenham. Hence the family today are the Bodnams. But it's a direct line straight through. So our chairman's the 8th generation, John Bodnam. His children are in the business now, Emily and Ed. Ed's our perfumery director. So all of the fragrances we create today, Ed is the nose of the business. He's been here for 30 years.
And he's the nose.
And he's the nose, yes. So we have perfumers that work for him, but we made the decision 5 years ago that we wanted perfumery output from Flores to belong to the business and not to have sort of freelancers coming in and people working on things that then in 10 years you sort of see an identity of somebody that wasn't quite Flores because they were in there for a little while. So
and it was exciting because you saw this old history connection, the Ian Fleming connection, and then they took us into the back room to see some of the ledgers and experience that. And yes, they gave us a gift. They gave us wonderful men's Flores moisturizer in these wonderful bags. And by now we're like holding bags like this, just all saddled down, and it was incredible. But that wasn't it. This was a marathon. I told you it was. Then we went to Lock & Co., Lock Hatters. And again, that James Bond connection, big time, which was great because we met with Michael over there. He has such a passion for James Bond. He told us about the history, how hats are measured.
The shape of the hat to fit the head. Because although you may be the same size, that the hat won't fit. So what we use one of these, which is called a conformator. So when Timothy Dalton would have come in Roger Moore, this is what we would have used to fit them. And it may well have been this one actually, because this is actually one of the main ones we've used for probably over 100 years now. So what basically happens is this is placed on somebody's head. All these little arms independently move, and as they do that, it creates an imprint of your head shape at 1/6 the actual size. And at the top here, a little piece of card is slotted in. I close it, and it takes the imprint of the shape. Now at this point, what we do then, if you just hand me one of those, actually, like one of the wooden blocks, Blair.
Yeah, there we are.
Okay. This is called a formalon. So the cardboard is then put into this. Now these actually move. We knock these out with a little sort of hammer that we use, and that now brings it back to full size. At that point, the hats, they get steamed. So these are super hot steamers, and it softens the shell. And we push the formalon in, and it takes the shape of the head. So all these people here would have had their heads measured for hard hats. So again, so Pierce Brosnan there I think he's a bowler hat.
And then he broke out a little bit surprised of the Goldfinger hat, but it wasn't the Odd Job hat. It was Connery's black golfing hat, to which we all now covet and want. Of course we did. By the way, I took a moment in there. We were all trying on things and having a good time and laughing, and we took a group shot, which was all fantastic. But I knew I was going to Wimbledon soon after, so I actually wound up getting one of those foldable Panama hats, which I loved. It served me really well at Wimbledon, and it's now one of my favorite hats. Now, the day could have ended. Of course it could have ended. We had a marathon of brands and locations, and, you know, we were all a little tired or knackered, but we decided to keep hanging out, dinner, etc. Some of us even went to Duke's. Check this out. As you can see with Duke's, it's perfect because, I mean, there's just the Vespers there are so powerful and strong and unique and wonderful, and the experience is so Bond, it's ridiculous. And we were in this private alcove, and it was wonderful. Whew, I'm tired even recounting it. What a day. It was the Bond location tour, London style. I doubt we'll ever repeat it. It took a lot of planning, a lot of discussion. But more than anything, it took a lot of people, the brand owners, the brands themselves, the community, the influencers that attended, AJ and Blair Ballard, who really helped connect Flores and Lock & Co., and communication to really create these things. They don't happen on their own. They're quite difficult. But when they come off, and they come off well like this, it's worth everything. So we wanted to show you a little bit about it from a pictorial and video standpoint. Hope you enjoyed it. And listen, there's going to be more experiences coming up, and don't wait on the Bond experience. Do your own. I love hearing about other people mobilizing and motivating their own Bond experiences, and I want to see them. But just wanted to give you a taste of this one. This has been David Zaritsky for the Bond Experience, and we will see you very soon. Take care. Thanks for watching this episode. If you want to be up on the latest from the Bond Experience, just click on this subscribe and subscribe to our channel. You're going to get all the latest and greatest information, plus some exclusive content. And by the way, speaking of content, here's something especially for you, just because we know you. Talk to you soon.